What is a profession that you have limitless respect for? Veterinarians. Their debt-to-income ratio is insane, but clients think they're rich because they have to charge high prices for vet care or they'd go out of business. They have to go from a euthanasia to a new puppy appointment within like 5 minutes of each other, just constant emotional whiplash. Suicide rate among veterinarians is extremely high. They are completely overworked and burnt. There's also veterinarians who do in-home euthanasia. I can't imagine putting beloved pets down all day, every day. But giving my doggo the gift of dying in my bed instead of a cold, sterile vet's office was an unspeakable gift. People ask all the time how we do it. It's honestly one of the easier parts of my job. Euthanasia means good death, and it's an end to suffering. I always empathize with owners and feel a little sad with each one, but it's much better than having to witness suffering and pain. Police. I'm ready for the downvotes, but they have the most important job in my opinion. I will never understand people's hatred of all police, like they are all the same, and aren't vital to society. They deal with horrible people every day, and people hate them for it. They also encounter disturbing / life-threatening situations on a daily basis. Moderators. I remember reading an article about how it was one of the jobs with the highest depression rates. Many former Facebook / Twitter moderators have spoken out, and the details are grueling to say the least. All sorts of illegal and graphic content for up to 8 hours a day. Their jobs consist in being paid to watch the worst sides of humanity trough a screen. No matter how though you are, that would break and takes its toll on anyone. Not a moderator, but I had a friend that did digital inventory stuff for the FBI. He actually worked in the Jared Fogle case. He would have to view, document all the actions in the photos / videos. He used to be really happy and chill in college. During that time he got super depressed. They have mandatory therapy twice a week and get a lot of vacation and paid pretty well. He lasted 3 years or so. He gained about 100 pounds and lost a lot of his carefree personality he used to have. I 100% blame that work for that happening. He still has PTSD symptoms almost a decade later. Maybe jobs like that will be ones AI can do to help relieve humans of the misery. Unfortunately not. While it may allow for censorship from general public, it would give an opportunity for plausible doubt. AI to find and censor this has existed for a while, but at the end of the day a jury won't trust an AI distinction. So someone will always be doing this for the next decade at least. Also, it would go against the Fifth Amendment because the defendant would not be able to face their accuser or cross-examine the AI. Agriculture field workers. I worked a summer managing several crews in the Sacramento Valley, and the field workers were the hardest working people I've ever worked with. Zero complaining, always early, and they followed all instructions. I would usually let them off an hour early on Friday and pay them the full day. Not much, but it's the best I could offer as an intern. Janitors. Those people are unsung heroes. Been one for a long time and I actually enjoy the work. The hardest was working in hospitals. Lots of healthcare places try and pay housekeeping and janitors as little as possible. Hospitals cannot run without good cleaning crews. Doctors and surgeons are not going to clean up after themselves. At one hospital the head of infection control wanted to have environmental services janitors absorbed by her department. It would mean big pay increases. In her mind, the ones really behind keeping infections from spreading and under control were the cleaning staff. Worked in a nursing home too. Cleaning staff cared more for the patients than a lot of medical staff. Wasn't uncommon that our team was the only friendly conversation the old people would have. Surgeon. My brother-in-law is one, and the knowledge, confidence, and endurance they require to do their job is unparalleled. He often shares pictures of his work with me, most of it in progress, and I am truly humbled by what they do. I recently had a 12-hour surgery. They removed my pancreas, spleen, and part of my stomach. Then they transplanted my islet cells from my pancreas into my liver, which is now making insulin. I'm doing really well and living pain-free for the first time in years. How the hell do they even do this? Like, how am I alive and functioning? And my surgeon is so amazing and kind, and I love him as a person. Teachers. Any grade. They are basically babysitting our kids every day. At the same time they are trying to educate them and impress some knowledge to guide them later in life. All while dealing with these same kids' attitudes or personalities or issues/problems that they drag in with them. Whatever it is, they get paid. It isn't enough. Special ed teachers. I adopted 2 delayed children, one of which is ASD and ADHD. They are under 5. These teachers are saintly. Their jobs are so damn hard, but they are in constant communication with me. My kids adore them, and these teachers love them back 100%, is inspiring, and it is outrageous that these people aren't making 6 figures a year. Merchant seamen. People who think products simply appear in stores don't realize that 90% of the world's traded goods are moved by sea. It's a difficult, dangerous and undervalued job, and the world economy would collapse should the sea lanes be threatened by conflict or natural disaster. My step-grandfather's brother was a merchant marine during World War II, and his other brother was in the Philippines on the ground in infantry. One day someone was shitting on the merchant marine brother about not really being that brave, and the infantry brother responded, "Those guys are out there exposed with no weapons on the ocean. At least I had a gun." Such an underappreciated job. Electrical line workers. Those men and women go out in the worst temperatures and conditions at any time of night just to get your house its power back. Agree. My dad used to work for the electrical company, and one of his linemen thought that he was above using safety equipment properly. He didn't have the gloves up high enough, and his tricep barely grazed a wire. The current went up his arm, through his chest and down his other arm. He lost both arms. People complain when it takes more than 10 minutes to get their power back on, but don't want to think of how the power gets turned back on. Therapy dogs. Therapy dogs and their owners work together as a team to improve the lives of other people. Just any profession that has to interact with the average person as part of their day, honestly, most people are idiots. I work front desk at a gym, and people constantly yell at me when things are either broken or they didn't pay their gym membership on time and have a late fee. I have no control over either of those things, lol. People that work child protection. My father did it for 6 months and had to change departments. It was too much for him, and he saw some horrible things and had to talk to kids who had been through hell and back. In the same basket, anyone who works in pediatrics. As a social worker, thank you. But my soul is yet to be crushed. In truth, the hardest things I deal with are not with the clients but with our broken systems of services. There's so much we could do as a country if we truly valued all our citizens, and it would benefit everyone, not just those who use or need social services. Instead, we have band-aid programs, hiding or patching a problem, often inadequately. I had a friend whose job it was to follow in the police and seize computers and laptops before the suspected pedos could erase them or destroy them. He then was responsible for pulling all images/videos/data from them. The shit he saw was unreal. He didn't do it for too long before he decided to move on to something else in the tech field. I know someone who created software that can scan all of the photos on a hard drive and identify the incriminating ones based upon matching characteristics of a particular location tied to an investigation. Saved a human from having to scroll through all of the images looking for a specific photo that could be used as evidence in court to make a strong case. He partners up with PDs in the UK and teaches them how to use it and gives them a license at an extremely discounted rate. Can't imagine all of the additional trauma he has prevented. People involved in elder care. They are grossly underpaid. So true. I worked in a great elder care facility for veterans. Every single patient was someone's favorite. And everyone was loved. If you think elderly people are anything but treasure, I just want to say that working with them is its own reward. And shout out to all the people caring for their family members in homes. Firefighters. Takes a special person to run into a situation that hundreds of thousands of years of evolution have trained us to run away from. And all in the interest of saving fellow humans. Epitome of selflessness. ER nurses. Not only they're heroes, they're super compassionate. 911 dispatch. Even if I'd love to give it a try, I know it can be brutal and underpaid. Also, they're the ones making sure the first responders arrive. IT forensics. The things they must see in that job and the mad skills they need, also super underappreciated. I know I'd never be able to do it. Sewer workers and sewage treatment plant workers. They work with slash and literal shit all day long. I don't even want to think of where we'd be without them. These people are perhaps the most important backbone of modern civilization. Miners. I live in a town where mining is a common profession. Those men and women go underground almost every day for at least 10 hours. A lot of people turn to it because it pays really well, but it does a lot on your body. They work in dark and pretty dangerous conditions for the natural resources that run our world. Heavy equipment and crane operators. I have seen people do such delicate and precise things with machinery that I couldn't do in a lab with tweezers and an eyedropper. You should see offshore crane work. I managed a deck crew for years on drill ships. Pick up off a boat that is moving around differently than to how you're moving around. Both vessels don't always move together or handle waves and wind and swells and such the same. Anesthesiologists. My mother is one and she has crazy stories about long-ass cases and stuff that are just unfathomable. It's basically keeping people alive while the surgeons are cutting them up. It's just insane to think about how all this is possible, yet my mother is doing it every day, saving people's lives. She and other people who practice this profession and are humble, because don't get me wrong, some physicians are assholes, have my ultimate respect. Military. I'm very much anti-war, but the shit entailed by military service can be extreme. Requires sacrifice at virtually all levels. I never understood this. They're sacrificing themselves to be awful people. Why is that worthy of praise? The thing they're doing is awful, but it's for a good reason. I personally wouldn't like my country being invaded by someone. It really depends on the country and what they're using it for. Public defenders. Going through all that expensive law school and passing the bar to choose to get paid like shit. Every person deserves representation. It must be terribly difficult having to represent certain individuals. And to do your damnedest. I couldn't believe it one time when I heard folks say they couldn't be a public defender because they wouldn't want to represent a guilt person. Such a fundamental misunderstanding of the court system and the need to protect the human rights of everyone. Immigrant workers. They travel away from their homes, oftentimes because of danger, to a totally new country with new cultures and social norms so they can start a business or work hard jobs to better their family. And most economies would break without them. Humanitarian workers. Why isn't this higher up? Engineers and scientists, they are the backbone of a lot of things in society. Yeah, most people assume that if someone has an advanced degree, they'll be well paid. Hell no. Scientists, not in industry, are paid like crap. Put it this way, if you're a scientist who works at a university, you're not paid to be a scientist, you're paid to be a professor. The university just expects you to do science shit, on top of teaching. So not only are you a teacher, with class sizes in the hundreds, but you have to do an entire other, very time-consuming, job on top of it. Yes, some very famous or very rich or very prominent scientists can just do research without teaching, but that's definitely not the norm. Those who work in funeral service. Big funeral is a real thing though. Funeral services are a money printer. Not much different from the diamond engagement ring, which prior to the early 1900s was only a thing done by royals or those connected to them by wealth. As soon as people realized they could romanticize it and trick the general population into going into debt for it, they did. Burying a family member on family property is now considered disrespectful and is even illegal in many places. Thanks to lobbying and propaganda. Adoption/foster care workers. My wife works with foster kids and the stories she comes home with are truly frightening and most are just plain sad. So many kids turn 17, age out of the system, and with no one to fall back on, end up homeless or in prison pretty quickly. EMTs. They have to deal with people that just watch their loved one die, sometimes a spouse of decades, often handling which funeral home etc. to call because many people aren't in emotional shape to do it, and have no one to help with arrangements. They have to deal with the worst gore and despite that stay focused enough to save a life. They have to live with the ones they couldn't save, sometimes children. Often, they arrive at a call that is still dangerous. Even if following protocol, they can't guarantee that the person that caused the victim's injury might still be lurking about, willing to attack again. And they get paid peanuts. People who work for cybersecurity. Finding a vulnerability inside a company's system could mean saving millions of accounts from being compromised by a bad party. Surprised no one mentioned truck drivers. Especially, those working long-haul interstate and away from their loved ones and families for weeks. I do insurance defense litigation and my firm represents a lot of truckers. They always get blamed when there's an accident and very often it's the other vehicle's fault. After representing hundreds of trucking clients, I have great respect for them and always give them 1. Plenty of room, 2. Turning signals, and 3. Stay out of their blind spots. Sherpas. These people are literally climbing mountains with kilos and kilos of baggage just to feed their children. Therapists who work in any capacity rehabbing patients. I've worked in physical therapy for 15 plus years now, and I've worked as a therapist, managed a department, and now work for a gigantic rehabilitation provider where I go into hospitals and facilitate patients getting to my rehab hospital. We specialize in traumatic brain injury, spinal cord injury, stroke, and multiple trauma. I trained at the hospital that I now work for. Even though I am one, I have so much respect for the therapists who work at my hospital. They do amazing things. Very proud of their work, and it makes it easy to go into hospitals and sell their services. Go my patients, I'm referred. Hospice workers. My dad has been shifted to hospice care, and I couldn't be more thankful for the sincerely kind support from his caseworker and nurses. They're all a lovely bunch of people and have treated my dad with the respect that I'd hoped for. As a hospice nurse for the last 13 years, it does take a toll on you, mentally, physically, spiritually. As an agnostic, I think is easier. I've had great days and horrible days. I had a day where I pronounced 4 patients in a 24-hour period. But most of all, I do it because I love my job. Helping someone be pain-free, surrounded by family, and having a good death is when I know my job is done. Most of the care is done for the family, the ones who stay behind. The patients are not going to have any more pain, suffering, debilitating treatments. They're the lucky ones. If we have the humanity to know when we can put our beloved pet to sleep, we should have the knowledge and heart to know what's quality of life versus quantity of life. I salute my colleagues, and one thing I was taught is that the day when you don't feel empathy, care, or any emotion, take a break. You don't want to be that nurse who is numb.